How's it going? Welcome to the live stream. Hope everyone's having a great day and happy Easter to everyone. Yeah, man. Springtime, springtime. Gotta love the warm weather. Don't really like all the green and pollen that's everywhere, but you gotta take the good with the bad. Love warm weather. Warm weather is where it's at. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Whew. All right. So if you're watching the repost, make sure to leave a comment and all that good stuff. Let us know if you have any ideas or questions about knife making, about your passions, or let us know what your passion is and what you've done to develop it, or if you're in the stages of starting to develop it. Billy Martin, what's up? How's it going? Happy Easter. Oh, man. I gotta say, I'm not as prepared as I should be this week. I don't have many topics, but whew, just like yesterday, sorry about yesterday, I didn't get a video uploaded, but I actually came down here. I had all my camera gear and everything ready to set up, and then I made the mistake of messing with the heat treat oven, and man, I fell into that hole big time. Whew. Man, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you saw in the stories, I got it to go up to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit in 2 minutes, which that's pretty extreme actually. So I had to do some adjusting, and the stuff from Amazon, which the stuff from Amazon never came, so I had to call them and get a refund from Amazon and reorder everything. So I never got all the switches and stuff like that. If you watch the heat treat oven build, I never got all that stuff put in, and oh man, so I don't know if it's the heat treat oven was too small or the coils were too big, but all of a sudden one of the sides started giving away. Hey, what's up, SLG Foxy? Haven't seen you for a while. Hope everything's going good. So anyway, I fired up the small oven, and if you guys have watched that build, hey, what's up, Rhino54? Happy Easter to you too. SLG Foxy, I'm doing pretty good. How about you? How have you been? It's been 3 or 4 weeks now, huh? So yeah, I fired this oven up, and I think the elements are too big. See, when I built my first oven, the big oven, I didn't know what I was doing, so I made sure everything was proper and everything was built right. And I built the chassis first, and then I, built the bricks into the chassis and went from there and went there. So on the second build, I think I just got too complacent, or I just wanted to experiment too much, so I didn't build a chassis for it. So anyway, I fired it up. I got up to 1500, 2 minutes, 1500, which, man, I put an amp meter on, or a amperage meter, or whatever you call it, and it was drawing 30 amps. Now my big oven draws like 17 amps. So yeah, I had to buy a resistor. So there's going to be another video, or another finale video for that build, because I ordered some metal for it, and I have to build a chassis, and it's funny when you think you know what you're doing, or you've done something once at a success, you go to build it again and you miss a lot of steps because you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I don't have to worry about this. I've got it all taken care of, and you leave out a lot of steps. But hey, what's up? What's up, Bootleg Blades? How's it going? I saw you got your anvil and your anvil stuff set up. It's looking good. Looking real good. Yeah, man. Can't wait to see what you forge with that. You got the burner all going and everything. Everything's getting good and ready and all set up. SLG Foxy says it's done a lot of work. No time for something else. Yeah, I hear that. Sometimes you just get all caught up in work, and then by the time you want to do something else, you get home and you're too tired to get anything else done, and whew, man. So anyway, yeah, I get this oven fired up, and all of a sudden, I guess because when the elements expanded, they probably pushed out. So I noticed like the one wall was starting to come apart. So I'm like, oh, I got to start fixing that. So I go to fix that wall, and as I'm pulling on it to fix it, all of a sudden the back wall comes undone, and then before I know it, like the whole thing is in pieces, and it's like, oh. And it's not the refractory cement that gave, it's because the soft bricks, they're soft bricks, so they tend to flake apart, and they're easy to crumble and all that. So I'm sitting here with an oven that's completely in shambles. You know, the elements are holding it all together and all that stuff. So, bootleg blades. The stump turned out cool. Now he needs to make a knife at some point. Yeah. One day I'll try to do some forging too. I don't know when that'll be, but I don't even have an anvil. I guess I could set up that propane forge. But actually, if you watch that '01 video where I failed to heat treat the '01 outside, now that I got all the bricks off of my big oven that I replaced, I'm going to go outside and make me a ghetto forge with one of those big old, the rooftop burners. The same burner I used in the '01 video, but I'm going to make myself a ghetto forge with just bricks and then set it in there and try heat treating like that. I was thinking a long time ago, maybe I'll just buy a big old block of steel, by like 2 inches by 2 inches by 4 inches, and maybe just make my own anvil like Alex Steele uses for like beginners, so if you mess up or you shank off the side of it, you're not messing up your new anvil and all that, because honestly, I've thought about, man, I want to build an anvil and all that stuff. Hey, what's up, Nick Riggy? Happy Easter. I said Happy Easter a few times, but all you newcomers, I hope you're having a great day, and Happy Easter. It's definitely a good day. Yeah, so, but honestly, I don't, like I always get these delusions of grandeur in my head. It's like, man, I'd love to have a press, or, I'd love to have a forge, or a big anvil and all this. But honestly, I don't think I would use it that much. I'm so into like the machining side of things and the stock removal side of stuff and all that, and so into making what I've got into as perfect as I can get it, or the best I can get it. And to have a forge and all that stuff inside is, to me, is too dangerous in this house setting. I've got too many things that can catch on fire. I worry. I've got like 5 fire extinguishers. I got one on the step. I got 2 or 3 by the oven, and everywhere in between. So the ovens are, and I got welding blankets on the floor in case I drop, a knife or something. So to have a forge down in this basement, plus there's not much ventilation down here. So, the ventilation, all that, I'd have to have it outside. Now I've actually thought about, building like a canopy or something, like you see at like a picnic area, where it'd just be like 4 poles in the ground and the thing. But I don't know how the code would be for Fairfax County and all that, because they got really strict building laws. I know even like a shed, you can only build it a certain diameter, like 12 by 12. But a shed, and then it came down to, it's like, man, if I built all that stuff and set that up outside, would I really go outside all the time and do that? Probably not. Bootlegs Blade says he built everything possible and looked into building an anvil. Buy one, so much more cost effective. Yeah, but see, that's my point though. Because I really, coming down in the shop, is like all my time. And editing is all my time. And playing music is all my time. So would I really take the time to go outside and forge and stuff? Excuse me. Honestly, I had to be, it's when you have to step back and do a reality check with yourself. It's like, now would I buy all these tools and sink all the time into that stuff and just have it sit out there and rust? Like, I've got that, I built that. If you watch that '01 video, I actually built a propane burner out of a actual propane tank. I went to Home Depot and bought an empty propane tank, and before I built the oven, I built that. And it sat out there and rusted. Now every time I'd heat treat, I'd go out there, but I was so like, I guess it's laziness. I was so lazy about it that I built my ovens instead, because that seemed more efficient to me. So, and now with 2 ovens, but yeah, man, whew, back to what I was saying. That little oven, 1500 degrees Fahrenheit in 2 minutes. But man, drawing 30 amps. The circuit breaker on the wall is actually a 30 amp breaker, so I'm surprised that didn't blow. And the whole reason I broke out the amp meter and all that is the oven would get to about 1,000 degrees, and that circuit breaker I put in the electronics in the box would pop. And I was like, oh, is this a bad breaker? Because honestly, I thought those ovens drew about 10 amps. I didn't know my big oven drew 17 amps. And then the little oven draws 30 amps. It's like, good Lord. And I wanted to run them both at the same time. So, anyway, yeah, so I'm going to have to put a resistor in there. If you guys don't know electronics, basically wattage depends on your voltage divided by your resistance. So, I think those small coils on the small oven are about 8 ohms. So I got a 5 ohm resistor, which I'm going to put in there, which should bring it down. So I should be under, hopefully, 20 watts with that oven. So it should slow it down something. Slow it down just enough, but man. So I fall into that hole. I'm really glad that that circuit breaker was working, because if it never popped, I would have never broken out my amp meter, and I would have never known 30 amps. That's crazy. But so all the Amazon stuff came, but now, since my oven fell apart, here, I'll show it to you what it looks like. Let's see, is it this one? Yeah, see, I had to put it all back together. I got it all clamped down and all that, so, and man, like I said, it wasn't the refractory cement, it was the bricks. So they gave a little bit, and then you're trying to fix one part, and then the other part comes apart, and then, man, it was just all in pieces. So I ordered some metal, which should be here Tuesday. And yeah, so I guess that will be the final part of the build. Which will be the first video in the playlist being like, don't make my mistake, build the chassis first. So I actually got some KO wool for it. So what I plan on doing is, building the platform at the bottom. And then I'll have, I'll probably make it an inch bigger. And then I'll put struts at the bottom where the base is to hold the bottom in. And then I'll put the KO wool on the top, and secure it all in. That way, if it does leak some heat from the other parts, because that's the thing, it got up to 1,500 degrees, and I could see, the orange coming out from the roof not being on secure. And everything was open, and it still got up to 1,500 degrees in 2 minutes. So it was like, woof, man. So that was pretty crazy. But yeah, so I got a 50 amp breaker, which I'm gonna have a friend come over. He's an electrician to put it in the box. See, I know electronics, but when it comes to electronics and wiring something in your house, if you don't have someone that knows what they're doing, do it, and something goes wrong, you lose all your insurance. And so, I pay my friend $100 or whatever. He'll probably put one breaker in for like $20, but it's good to have friends that's one thing. If you work in construction, people that have worked in the business. So you go over and build something for them, or maybe I'll just say, here, which knife do you want? Put a breaker in, I'll give you a knife. So but yeah, so that's why I didn't get to get a video up yesterday. Like I said, I actually brought all my camera gear in here, and then I was like, oh, let me just mess with this oven a little bit, and everything went wrong. But yesterday I did start making the video on the Hamones. Ooh, I put towels over here so I didn't have to pick it up. Now, let's see if we can see this. This one is one I finished pretty much. I don't know if we can see the Hamon on that, but I got to re-etch it, but I etched most of it. and I stone washed it. Let's see. I can't see it. I guess there's too much light in here, or maybe we can. But I stone washed it, and then I put it up to like, you know, this new thing about grinding to get so I don't have to hand sand is I'll go to a really high grit like 800 on my cork belts or my Scotch Brite, and then I'll come back down to 200. Because when you go up to a really high grit, it shows you all the places you missed. So you go to a high grit, then you go back down to 200 or whatever, and then you come back up, and you know, it's a lot more work than hand sanding, but if you don't like hand sanding, it's the solution. Then I polished it up a bit, and I got it to there, so it's looking real nice. So this one and this one have really nice Hamones. I'm actually giving away most of the video for Wednesday's video, but that's alright. So this one has a really nice Hamone, but it hasn't been two-toned yet. I can't. Where's my light at? Here, let me see something. See if this will work. But this has a really nice stone finish on it. But you can kind of see there. You can see the Hamone like right there. See the difference between the light and the dark? So I'm going to have to do to this what I did to this one. And then I did the karambit. Now, I almost messed this karambit up because it's such a weird grind that when I went to mess with it, I forgot how I forgot the way I ground it. And I started on the grinder, say like the grinder's here, I started going like this. But that's not how I ground it. I grounded it straight across, and I don't know what I was thinking when I was doing that, because it's a weird grind. So I almost completely messed this one up. But this one, if you watch that video where the build for this, on this knife, I ground the bevels after I heat treat it. Because I wanted to do that experiment to see if Hamones mattered. Like, if you ground the bevels before heat treat or after, if it mattered. This Hamone didn't come in as nice as the other two. So I think it does matter that if you want a really nice Hamone, you have to grind your bevels before heat treat. So, but it came out pretty nice. It's getting there. I still got some more work to do on that, but they're both almost to a mirror satin finish. So, yeah, man. Looking good, looking good. So at least I got that video for like probably Tuesday, because I'll have to come down tomorrow, and I want to do a coffee etch. So I know two of them have really nice Hamones. So, because I see a lot of guys doing Damascus and they use coffee. Like Niels Vandenberg, and I think Alex Steele does it too. Now, excuse me, all this pollen, this April weather with all the pollen in the air. Alex Steele and Niels Vandenberg, I've seen them both do coffee etches, and I reached out to Niels Vandenberg, and he says he ferric chlorides before he does the coffee etch. Now, I don't know if it's the nickel in the Damascus that makes it pop or whatever, but that's why I wanted to experiment with the Hamones. And plus, like I talked about a few weeks ago, everyone's drinking coffee online and on YouTube. It's like the big new trend is coffee. So I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee and never have liked coffee. You know, Peter McKinnon talks about the Wayne Gretzky, which is 9 sugars and 9 creams. That's not even enough for me if I drink coffee. So I want to make some coffee and do some slow motion coffee making. I even bought like a Chemex for it and all that stuff. So that should be a fun video. But yeah, it'll be nice to see how these Hamones come out if coffee actually makes a difference with them. So. Alrighty. So, something funny dawned on me the other day. I'm always saying, like, damn that Murphy's Law. You know, when bad stuff happens, or I'm trying to do something and all of a sudden something goes off, I'm always like, damn that Murphy's Law. And it reminded me of when I was, how old was I? I guess I was like 27 or something. It was like, I guess it was like 1998. But I was like really into hardcore music, like punk bands, hardcore music, and all this. And me and my girlfriend at the time had just kind of, we were always like on and off because, I blame myself because I'm a very erratic thinking person and, off the wall. So I'm sure to be in a relationship with me is a very hard thing to handle. So we were kind of on a break, and it was like I think it was like the Super Bowl weekend, so it was like a hardcore Super Bowl thing, and there was this band called Murphy's Law, and I think they're from New York, and so it was like me, my other friend, and five girls with us, and we're all there, and so this dude comes up and starts hitting on my ex girlfriend at the time, so I'm just like it didn't bother me or nothing, so I'm just like whatever, but my friend's girlfriend was bothered by this, and she goes up and she starts like interfering in it, and the dude starts hitting on her. So then my friend is like, oh man, and he gets up in the dude's face. So then I get up there to like, back up my friend, and all hell breaks loose. And this was a club we went to like every week, like 2-3 times a week, so we knew everyone in the club. But it turns out this guy that was hitting on the girls was the lead singer for Murphy's Law. So all of a sudden, like 5 guys picked me up and dragged me out. My friend gets dragged off, and man, the whole place is just going crazy. You gotta remember, this is like a hardcore, slam dancing, moshing kind of environment. So everyone's just like adrenaline's flowing, the whole male ego, everyone's got to beat each other up mentality is going on. And we're with, what, 3 or 4, I guess it was 5 of us. There was 3 other girls. Or was it 4 other girls? No, it's 4 other girls, so it's 6 of us. So anyway, the whole place is going crazy. And since they were in Murphy's Law, they didn't get kicked out. Since everyone in the club that ran the place knew us, we didn't get kicked out. And everyone's coming up to me, in fact, there are like 2 or 3 people that worked at this club were guys that I went to school with since, 7th or 8th grade. And they're all like, man, what happened? Who was that dude? Oh, it's going crazy. So about half an hour later, we're like, man, let's just get out of here. And we go to walk out the door, and outside is like the whole band, Murphy's Law, and like all their little groupies. So there's like 50 people waiting for us to walk out the door. And it's like, oh man, this is not good. We had, and this is a DC club, in the middle of DC, right on the edge of Southeast. Which if any of you guys are like old enough to remember when like DC was the murder capital, like Anacostia, this is like right on the edge of Anacostia. So if you walk out to the club, it's okay. But if you go 2 blocks this way or 2 blocks that way, you're in it deep. So luckily there's cops at these clubs, and we actually had to go up to the cops like, look, it's me and my friend and 4 girls, and we got to get to our car. Is there any way you can help us? So, yeah, man, the cop had to walk us to the car, and whew, man, that was a rough night, but we made it. I didn't think we would. Man, I've had some bad stuff happen down in that spot, but anyway, I digress. That was just a funny story because, working on this oven and stuff, and I remember saying, damn, Murphy's Law, and it just made me think of that story. It's like, oh man, when you're a teenager, when you're in your 20s, man, you think you're indestructible. And you think you can take on the world until you walk out and see 50 people waiting for you. Then you realize you're not that big. Oh, man. Which is funny because, if you make videos and stuff like that, the best thing you got to do is watch them back before you upload them. Because sometimes they need corrected. And I think I've talked about this before. It's just best to make sure. Sometimes I'll even watch my video 2 or 3 times and then upload it. But even in like that last wiring video, it's like I've noticed little things like I'll make up words and not even. I guess I'm so involved in what I'm trying to explain that I don't realize I'm saying words wrong or making up words. It's like, what are you talking? I mean, the thing is, it's not bad enough. Like the flow of the sentence is good enough that you know what I'm saying. But these little things I catch, and it's like, what? Where did you get that word from? Where? It's like, uh, man, sometimes it just cracks me up. And it's not something like that. Isn't something you can really go back and fix. It's not like, I mean, I guess I could pull out a microphone and voice over that part or something, but Bootleg Blade said, badass story. Have one or 20 kind of like it. Yeah, I've got a lot like it. Something, man, when you get older, you look back and it's like, man, I was crazy to think I could get away with that, but, whew, man. I tell you what, growing up in D.C., it's an interesting place to live. And the funny part is now, like, if I have to drive through D.C., the place that used to be ghetto is now all hipster. Like, man, there were spots that were like run down, beaten out, burned out, guys on the corner slinging, and all that stuff. And now you go through there, it's like Best Buy and high-rise economy condos and, all these white people walking through with their dogs. And it's like, man, this is a whole different place. Now that statement, there was white people before, but it's a whole different outlook, Like, I walk those streets all the time. I'm a white guy, but I don't look like a yuppie, conservative dude with a little white dog or something. So that statement wasn't a black and white statement. That was more of a hipster versus a grungy white dude statement. Because, man, and that's the thing. When you're a teenager, you grow up thinking, oh, man, I relate to these people more. Or I relate to this thing, and you go hang out there more. Because that's, that was kind of my people. If I would go, if I would go hang out with the jocks or I'd go hang out with, whatever you want to call them, that or my family, I'm like the black sheep of my family. Like my stepbrother and all that, or my half-brother, I should say, not my stepbrother. My half-brother and his kids, I'm not even allowed really around them because I'm the black sheep, I'm the mess up, I'm the high school dropout, ooh. And they all, they walk into jobs making $40,000 a year starting out, and they're all, high-class executive types, and so, in fact, I've even said about most of my family, it's like, if I wasn't your blood, you would probably spit on me as I walked by, so. Well, let's get off that topic. That's depressing. Today's Easter. Let's keep it happy. That's a dark road to walk down. Oh, man. So, I had this debate with the Do-It-Yourself Easy Crafts. I did a collab with him, probably 4 or 5 months ago. But the whole thing was about mystery steel and using leaf springs and all that. And, I don't forge, so I'm not really an expert on talking about it. But from what I've read from a lot of people, and because when I made a statement, I forget what a lot of people think leaf springs are a good steel to start with. And I made the statement, I was like, well, leaf spring is 5160, which honestly, I don't think 5160 is a really good steel to start with as a beginner maker. Because it air hardens, or it gets harder in air. That's where I got the whole air hardening mistake thing. But it's just not a good steel to work with because, now it is easy to get. And, you go to your junkyard and all that stuff and get it. And so, yes, if it's the only steel you can get, then by all means, it's a good steel to work with. But if you could take 20 or 30 bucks and buy yourself, a thing of 1084 as a beginner knife maker, that's the best steel to get. Plus, you know what you're getting. And that's when this guy was like, well, leaf springs aren't 5160 anymore. And in fact, a lot of times they're a less reliable alloy, and you never know what you're getting these days when it comes to leaf springs. And I went into this big discussion with the guy from Do It Yourself Easy Crafts. And it came down to another guy started chiming in, and I guess the guy, Dan Berg's his name, and he's like, I started out with using automotive spring steel and all that stuff, and it worked fine. And I was like, yeah, but how did you test it? Because from what I understand, when you're using leaf springs, a lot of times they'll have microfractures and a lot of stuff, which if you're forging, I'm sure is no problem. But I guess if you're going to use that kind of steel, the best thing I would suggest is cutting a little piece and make sure it heat treats properly and how to heat treat it. Like the guy from Cat's Cradle Forge, he's been having all kinds of problems with heat treating because he didn't really know what kind of steel he was using. So this other guy chimed in and he's like, any steel, any leaf springs made before 1980 are 5160. And it was like his point of, yeah, and I forge so I don't worry about fractures and all that stuff. And I it dawned on me, he's like, 1980, you're talking about steel that's 40 years old. So it's sat in the junkyard on some car or been driven around for who knows how long. You don't know how strong this steel is, how good it is. You're going to have to take off who knows how much rust, corrosion, and even he said you're going to have to buy a whole bunch more, use a lot more abrasives when you're using this steel, to get it right. And it's like, so you're going to put all this time, all this effort, waste all these belts just to save $30 when you can go online and buy a piece of steel. It's like, man, from what he's explaining, okay, so you buy a piece of steel that's 40 years old at a junkyard off some car that hopefully is 5160. So now you're going to have to prep it. You're going to spend hours prepping it. You're going to have to sit there and mess with it. And if you don't forge, you might have cracks. You might have all kinds of problems. And, oh, man. Just spend the $30 to get yourself a nice, new, fresh piece of steel. Come on now. Excuse me. I mean, I understand the debate, and I understand, yeah, if you have, it's that fine line where it's like you don't want to discourage someone from doing something, but you also don't want to encourage them to use something that might come out bad, which in turn would discourage them even more. Say someone's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to a junkyard and I'm going to buy this steel and blah, blah, blah. And they try their first knife and all of a sudden there's cracks in the whole knife or it's just takes hours till they get to the point where they can start making the knife. To me, as a beginner knife maker, I wouldn't want to make another knife again. Whereas if I went online and bought a brand new piece of steel, I knew what it was, I knew what I was in for, bam, I could draw it out, I could forge it out, I could do anything I want, and I know that steel's reliable. I know how to heat treat it, I know how to work it. With spring steel, you might be working it or, now, like I say, I don't forge, but I've seen guys that have problems when they don't know what they're working with, And, even Alex Steele would be trying with spring steel and stuff, and all of a sudden he'd have delamination and all kinds of problems. And that's with stuff you know what you're working with. And that when it comes to forging, like I say, that's not my experience, so I'm just going by what I've seen guys I rely on talk about. So, I don't know. Mystery steel to me, if it's all you have and you want to learn how to make a knife, go for it. Anything to get you working, anything to get you in the shop and involved in this craft, I can back. But if you're like, oh, I want my first piece of steel, and you're looking for your first piece of steel, buy it online. Go with something you know. And that was, at the end of it, we kind of both were like, we respect each other's opinions, and it's good to have debates like that because that way someone new coming into the craft can read this stuff and look at it from both points of view and decide what they want to do. Ah, whew. So it's been it's been like 35 minutes, and since it's Easter, I think everyone's pretty much with their families, and I hope you guys are having a great day with your family. So I think I'm gonna cut this short. Like I said, I wasn't as prepared for this live stream, and I've been so caught up in that oven and stuff, and getting back on track. So I think I'm gonna cut it short today, and I hope everyone watching the repost has a great Easter and a great week. Oh, so the shirts are up now on my website. This is actually like a tri-blend. I got two types of shirts. There's one for like $18 that's just like a regular t-shirt, and then there's this type which is like really soft, and it's called like tri-blend, and I think this is like $23. So, but if you watched the last video where I showed the shirt, this logo was higher. So I moved the logo down and all that stuff. So these are available on the website now. And my website link is up above or down in the description. I put it down there with the Amazon links. Chip actually asked about, let me see if I can find it without knocking everything over. Chip asked about, oops, as I drop them, about these HRC files. Now, if you do knife making and you do heat treating and all that, you need some good HRC files. And he asked me, he sent me a link, and he was like, oh, it's $85 too much on Amazon for these files. And I actually found a link to them for $65. So if you go down in the description, there's links to these for, don't spend the $85. Get these for $65. These are the ones I use in all my videos where I don't use my big HRC tester. And now that they've fallen all over the floor. Jake Makes. Hey, what's up, Jake? I just saw you on LHI production video. Yeah, I was checking out your channel. Pretty cool. I dig it. But he says, if it's true mystery, then yeah, no. But usually you can figure out mostly how to make it work. Spark test, quench it, see if it hardens, etc. Kind of more fun, more challenge to it. Yeah. See, that's kind of what I was saying, before, if you do get a piece of steel, make sure you know what you're using if you got to use it. But if you're a beginner and all that, spend $30, buy brand new steel. But yeah, I just glanced at your channel. I like it, man. So when I get off here, I'm going to go subscribe, man. I dig it. You do that one knife I saw, it was like not a honey knife, but it was like it had the handle come around and all that, and it's pretty sweet build. But I had to come down here and start the live stream, so I didn't get a chance to really look at your channel. But looks like you're doing some good stuff. You and LHI Productions, man. Yeah, so you guys go check out his channel, or both their channels. LHI Productions, man, I'll tell you what, you guys look like, high school kids. I don't know your age, but man, I wish when I was that age, I had to, I was into music and stuff like that, but man, if you keep up with knife making and doing the stuff you're doing, man, yeah, it's going to turn out real nice. And these guys do it on 1x30s, which gave me an idea. I might have to break out my old 1x30 and see if I could actually make a knife with one. You guys might be like, oh, well, we're not doing so bad after all. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you all have a great Easter and everything works out. Oh, 18. Jake Make says he's 18. So, LHI Production said when you guys were doing that railroad spike, and I talked about the HC on the spikes, the hard carbon, but then he said when you guys quenched it, you don't know if it's hard or not. So take a file, skate a file. I'm sure you guys know that if it skates. But make sure you get the lamination, or not the lamination. Make sure you get the scale off the knife before you test it with with a file, because if you skate the file over, man, I'm blanking out. If you try to skate the file, over the scale or the decarb, it can give you a false positive. But that's the way to test for hardness, which I'm sure you guys probably already know, but just in case. All right, I'm starting to stutter and stammer and all that stuff. Have a great Easter. If you're just here for the live streams, come back, and I'll see you next week. Oh, he says he went in. Yeah, like I said, I had to come down here, so I didn't have a chance to finish all that stuff. He said he went into steel railroad spikes and what they're made of. Like I said, I don't forge, so I've never really messed with railroad spikes and all that stuff. But yeah, thanks for that. I'll go check out that comment after I get off that. So all right, guys, I should have a video up Tuesday or Wednesday, and if you're here just for the live stream, see you next Sunday. Let's all have a good week. That's it for now. As always, take it easy.